it is here. Really nice move. Blake Delaney had to move out of the way.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an absolutely massive night of GT3 action here, brought to you on SRW TV. It is the Racecraft GT3 Series, all on the SRW TV YouTube channel. If you are watching the stream and you want to get involved, please hop into the live chat for today's broadcast. If you got any questions, any queries, anything you want me to talk about, then please get it into the chat and we will discuss it throughout proceedings. 7 drivers currently in the session, so not as many as what we would hope for, but could still be on for some absolutely monumental action throughout tonight's race. I mean, last week out, we had about, I think it was 7 or 8 drivers, and I mean, there was action throughout the field, little battle packs forming between 2 or 3 drivers out at Fuji Speedway, and it turned out to be, well, quite an exciting race in terms of penalties being applied and just all in all strategy or strategical carnage, if you will. Just to bring up the race info for you today, I am your commentator Hamish Munro here. You can catch me every Friday here for the Racecraft GT3 Series. We're in Season 2, Round 3 here at Magny Cours in France. 23 degrees is the temperature at the moment, 21% humidity, partly cloudy, 18 kilometers of wind here today. It's 4.41 kilometers track length that these drivers will have to whittle their way around the twists and turns of this circuit. A couple of long straights, some good overtaking opportunities, especially into the final corner and also off the top straight on the top of the track circuit. You can see there the kind of winding straight out of turn 3 there down to turn 4. So some opportunities for some overtakes to happen. And some opportunities for some great battling as well. We are catching the end of practice at the moment. There's, well, hardly anyone on track right now, but the current leader in this practice session is Adam Hughes with a 1 minute 37.8. He has outlapped his teammate Greg Barber in behind him by 0.6 of a second. So we will go on to Greg Barber now, see how he's going around the proceedings. Once again, if you have not already, please hit the subscribe button and hit the bell as well so you're notified anytime we go live of the 5 nights, 6 championships of racing that we broadcast right here live on SRW TV. The week all starts Tuesday nights with the V8 Amateurs Series. Then we go to Wednesdays with a double header of Toyo Sim TCRs and F3s, and then Thursday nights, the Camus GR86s. Friday nights is the Racecraft GT3 Series. And then Sundays is the big premiere series that SRW produces, which is the SimRigs Supercars Pro-Am. So if you want to get involved, please go to www.simracingworld.com.au to get involved and sign up for one of the series. $10 entry into the series. So it's a nice, cheap championship to enter in terms of paid leagues. And of course, you know, we're hoping to get more and more drivers in more of this series. It was good to see Wednesday night in the F3s. We had a big jump up in entries. We went from about, I think we had about 12 the week before. This past week we had over 20, so it was great to see. And of course, we want to see more people getting involved in this series, because the more drivers we can have, the better on-track action that can be produced and broadcasted live to your screens wherever you're watching from. So we are on for a big, big night of racing here around Magny Cours. It's a great circuit for GT3 cars. This circuit is absolutely magnificent. I mean, of course, it's well known for formerly being on the Formula 1 calendar and also on the MotoGP calendar as well. So, but it is no sort of, I'm trying to think what the word is. It's no stranger to GT3 racing or even GT4 racing around this circuit. So we etch closer and closer towards the end of practice. About 50 seconds to go now in the session. And, well, I mean, it's less of a spread this week by, there's 4 BMWs out there. 1 McLaren, 1 Audi, and 1 Fez. Still no Lambos and still no Mercs or Porsches. Or there's no Porsches this week around. But, you know, I think if we can try and get some more drivers, then it will that'll be good to see. But you know, but I'm excited nonetheless for some absolutely insane GT3 action. I mean, the action was hard-hitting and fast from the get-go last time out. I mean, the top 2 drivers in the session who started on pole, and 2 of the top 4 drivers who started in pole, and then I believe it was 3rd, actually having a moment at the start of the race. You know, going off track and then clawing their way back through the field to then finish in the top 3. One of them, Adam Hughes, who's top of the timing sheets at the moment, ended up winning that race. But if you want to see any of that action happen, you can find the replay of the live stream in the live section of the SRW TV YouTube channel. So we now head on to qualifying. 30 minutes of this circuit for these drivers to try and find as much pace as they can in these relatively tough to drive GT3 cars. So the action is hot and heavy. We've got plenty of racing to come here tonight, plenty of on-track action as well, and we will be hoping for some absolutely incredible battles throughout the field. So once again, massive thank you to the series sponsor Racecraft for, well, giving us the opportunity to broadcast this series live to all of you, as Doug Gowans is the first one to get on track, try and set himself a good lap time here in qualifying. Of course, half an hour, it's a long time to get a good lap time in, get those tyres warmed up, and allow the track to really rubber up and really push for that best time you can get at the end of the session. So Gowans and Miles Burgess are the first 2 on track. Of course, Miles had a pretty respectable race last time out, finishing on the podium in P2 behind his teammate Adam Hughes and leading the majority of the way after couple of drivers got some penalties for going into the pits incorrectly. So he was really able to take advantage of other people's mistakes or other people's penalties and really just force his way up through the field. So hopefully we can see this race not be decided by penalties though. Hopefully this race can be decided by on-track action and we can see some incredible passes. This Magny Cours circuit is fantastic for on-track action. It's a track that lends itself well to both strategy plays but also to on-track overtakes happening and on-track battles happening. You know, plenty of overtaking opportunities. Will we see someone send it down the inside at turn 1? Or will we see someone just absolutely torpedo their car down the inside into the final couple of corners at the end of the straight that Doug is coming down now? All these questions will be answered, of course, throughout the proceedings and throughout the race, of course. Miles Burgess is currently on 2 purple sectors at the moment as he heads round to get onto his first flying lap. So we'll have to see now how Miles can do here in terms of pace over the course of a lap. He only just bought the circuit before actually hopping into this session tonight, so he's actually not driven it yet on iRacing, but I'm sure that through a multitude of laps that will be turned around here, he will find the pace that he needs and he will make his way through the field. Of course, Sunday night in the Pro-Am series, I mean, he had only ever done 3 laps around before the series, or before the session actually went up in a supercar around there, and managed to find his way from 20th up to 3rd place. So he has got pace once he gets acclimatized to a circuit and once he gets used to the car and track combination. So these are all the things that will need to be kept in mind when focusing on some of these drivers. I mean, of course, you know, Adam Hughes, Greg Barber, those are 2 guys you really got to keep an eye on. They've got absolutely great pace, fantastic efforts from them throughout this season so far. We'll just focus on Doug Gowans for a moment here because he has actually gone fastest in the first sector as he comes around to finalize very soon his opening fastest lap, or his opening fast lap, I should say. 2 purple sectors now, but of course this will be the first fast lap that anyone's actually done in this qualifying session, although Greg Barber has just pipped his first sector, which is not too surprising because Greg is actually one of the fastest people in the field. Doug just letting Miles go there, so maybe he had a bit of a mistake and it just kind of put a little bit less reassurance in his mind in terms of trying to find the pace in the car and trying to get used to this track. You know, the track is it's at a good temp. You know, 24 odd degrees. It's at a perfect temp for these GT3 cars. Doug should he finish this lap or will he be counted? I'm unsure. It's not actually listed his time on my screen just yet, so we'll have to wait and see. But Greg Barber at the moment is on taps and is on paper to have on the course to have the fastest lap of this race. He will come down the back straight now, down towards the final couple of corners. Can he hold it all together, get a purple final sector and go fastest in this session so far? We get to see someone complete a clean lap and set a time on the board. Nice and tidy through the final chicane goes Greg. And he will complete this lap. Of course, go top of the timing tower and get a 1:37.69. So an absolutely immense time there by Greg to get up onto the top of the tower at the moment, but we await others to finish their times. Adam Simpson goes P2 with a 1:39.36, so slightly off the pace, but I know through practice he did actually show some good pace in that car. Just about whether he can find it. Barber goes fastest once again in the first sector, so he might be on for another push lap right now. Miles Burgess will come round to complete his lap in just a moment. He's got Gowans in behind him here, who's gone orange in the middle sector, so he's either matched or not beaten his middle sector time at the moment, but he has got a personal best in the first sector. So Burgess, what can he do? Can he challenge this time that was set by Barber? Does a 39.03, so it proves that he actually just does have pace in that car, and he's able to acclimatise to the track that he has not driven yet on iRacing fairly easily. I mean, he's already beaten Simpson's time after only doing a couple of laps in practice. It just proves the pace that he has. Barber not able to beat his middle sector, or the session best middle sector, but is still purple in the first. So we'll have to see what he can do here in this final sector of the circuit. Gowans did a 39.79 that last lap, so everyone has at least gotten below the 40s so far. As Barber will cross the line once again. He did better his time. 37.69. I think he actually matched the time. Actually, so we wait for Keegan Caldwell, Matthew Gerard and Adam Hughes to set their first fast laps here, their first clean laps, as though Caldwell comes back in the pit. So maybe he's just not entirely satisfied with that lap. We'll see if Matthew Gerard can set a time here in qualifying. Burgess is on for a personal best at the moment. He's currently got 2 personal best sectors. Same with Gowans as well. So these guys are finding some pace. There's plenty of pace left in the cars. Obviously, you've seen Barber's done a 37. This guy's doing 39. So there's still a couple of seconds that can be found in these immensely quick and satisfying to drive GT3 cars around this incredible Magny Cours circuit. So Gerard will now make his way further around this circuit, come into the final sector. Burgess, the last lap, did a 38.56, so he has bettered his time quite well, actually. Gowans as well does a 39.09 there, so he also betters his time. Hughes is out on track, and he's just done a purple sector. We'll watch Gerard to the end of this lap, and then we'll see what Hughes can do on this fast lap. He's already gone fastest in the session so far. Tricks in the chat. Adam Hughes equals SRW GOAT. I mean, maybe he was just giving Barber a little bit of a chance to set a good time, and then he's just going to swoop in and just steal pole from him at this stage. 8 minutes done in the session so far. 22 to go. Gerard was not able to set a time. Adam Hughes has gone purple first, green second sector, so he's not able to match Barber's second sector time, but he is able to do a personal best. He's actually in the safety car livery for me, so I'm actually going to have to update my trading paints here because he was the safety car the other day for me. So we'll get this fixed so then he's rocking around in the CXR livery instead of the promo department safety car livery that he has on the car at the moment. Adam Hughes goes P2, 1:37.84. So not quite fast enough to beat his teammate's time of a 1:37.69. That is the current top of the timing tower. But it is still, not over a second actually. It is still 7/10 faster than his other teammate, Miles Burgess, currently in P3. Gerard and Caldwell, the only 2 drivers yet to set a lap around this absolutely beautiful Magny Cours circuit. Gerard has gone personal best in the first 2 sectors now. He makes his way round to come onto the back straight. He's only got 3 corners to go to set a clean lap and to get onto the timing tower. The time he needs to beat to not be at the back of the field is a 1:39.36. It is doable in this BMW. The top 2 times at the moment are 37s, and they were done in a BMW M3 GT3 car. Or M4. M3? M4? I can't even remember. Gerard goes 1:39.83, so about 5/10 off Adam Simpson's P5 lap time at the moment. There is still pace in the car, though. He can find it. He was unable to do his best final sector time that lap around. So if he can actually get a personal best in every single sector, he should be able to find some pace and get a bit of lap time about him. Adam Hughes has just gone personal best in the middle sector. He's going to come around the chicane to cross the line, does the session best final sector, and goes top of the timing board by 0.09 of a second. A 1:37.60 is the lap time at the moment from Adam Hughes. What can Miles Burgess do? Can he match his teammates' time with no practice at all around this Magny Cours circuit? He's already done a 38.56. He's only got to find 0.9 of a second to beat Greg Barber's time in P2. Welcome to everyone watching the stream at the moment as well. If you want to get involved, please hop into the chat, just like Trix did. Love to have a talk to you, love to have a chat throughout the race proceedings tonight. We have 19 minutes of qualifying left to go for these 7 GT3 Gladiators currently in the field to prove their worth, to set their times, to get to the top of the timing tower. Burgess crosses the line. Is not a personal best from him. We will see if he can go on another lap. Keegan Caldwell has just done a personal best first sector in the Scuderia Ferrari livery on that 488 out there at the moment. As well, guys, if you want to get involved in the series, please head over to www.simracingworld.com.au. It is linked in the description of the YouTube broadcast, I believe. It's actually not. It should be, but it's not. Oh well, but what is linked there is our Facebook page. If you head over to the Facebook page, message one of the admins of the page, I'm sure they'll be able to link you to the website and help you get on board and racing in this incredible series. You know, it'd be great to have more and more drivers out there pushing to do their best times that they can. Miles Burgess has just gone fastest in the middle sector, as Caldwell was able to set his first lap time of a 1:41.6 seconds. There's still pace to be found. Adam Hughes has just matched his fastest time of qualifying, a 37.60. Did the fastest final sector of the circuit. Can Miles better his time? A 1:38.56 to beat for himself here. He does a 38.02. So he betters his time, but not his position in qualifying at the moment. He still needs to find 0.3 of a second to get close to Greg Barber's 1:37.69 in P2 at the moment. That fastest middle sector did him wonders that lap. But the pace is there. The ability to set these laps is there. Barber has done a personal best. First sector, 31.08 seconds. Whether he is on a fast lap at the moment will be told in time to see what he does here in the second sector. He's coming up on the back of Keegan Caldwell. Caldwell is unable to better his sector times at the moment. Barber goes fastest in the middle sector. The first person to do a 35-second middle sector there. 35.99. He bettered Miles Burgess's middle sector by 0.1 of a second. So Barber is on a massive push lap right now, and he is pushing hard to try and go to the top of the timesheets. He's only got to find 0.09 of a second. He's going to come round the final chicane to cross the line. And unfortunately, he betters his time, but he's not close enough. A 37.63 was the lap time. 0.03 of a second away from Adam Hughes' pole lap time at the moment. So these guys are clutching at straws right now. Simpson is currently on for a personal best lap at the moment. 2 green sectors so far. That means he's had a personal best in both the first and second sector. Purple sectors mean it is a session best. You've done the fastest time in that sector out of everyone. So Simpson will come around the final 2 corners to set a lap time of a 1:38.04. 0.02 of a second slower than Burgess's P3 time. The times are etching closer and closer. These guys are separated by nothing at the moment. If you ever wanted an example of how close GT3 racing can be, this is the perfect example of how close these guys' lap times are, whether it's with lack of practice or with heaps of practice. The top 2 separated right now, their fastest laps, separated by 0.03 of a second. 0.03 of a second. You know how fast that is? And how little amount of time? It's literally a millisecond on and off the throttle. P4 and P3 separated by 0.2 of a second. There is nothing in these lap times, ladies and gentlemen. It's literally a slightly earlier push out of one of the corners or a slightly deeper braking zone. That is how close these lap times are right now. Yes, we may only have 7 cars in the field, but the top 4 are incredibly close and the rest of the field is not too far behind them. So if you have an eagerness to get involved in a racing series where the driving is this close in terms of lap times and in ability, then you need to head over. Message one of the admins on the SRW Facebook page. Or, actually, I think the link for it is on this. Or head to www.simracingworld.com.au and sign up as a driver and get involved in the series. So Caldwell currently on for a personal best lap. So is Matthew Gerard. Both have had green first sectors. Personal best first sectors. Bring the track map up so you can keep track of where people are around this beautiful Magny Cours circuit here in France. We see Matthew now coming up towards the back straight, down towards the final 3 corners. He's got 2. He's had 1 green sector, 1 orange sector. Slightly ahead of him is Keegan Caldwell. He's going to come around the final 2 corners. He's on track to have a personal best lap. He does a 1:40.2, so he betters his previous lap by over a second. He still has 0.8 of a second to gain. Sorry, no, 0.9 of a second to gain up to Matthew Gerard, whose personal best is a 1:39.30. So we'll head back up now to the current man on pole, the provisional pole leader, Adam Hughes. Remember, the best time he's done so far is a 37.60. 0.03 of a second faster than Barber in P2. Even though these guys are on the same team, they are separated by absolutely nothing. They are separated by a breath and a tickle of the throttle. Hughes lets his teammate Burgess through. CXR are currently en route to taking out a 1-2-3 lockout in qualifying. We have just under or just over 11 minutes to go. He lets the other teammate Greg Barber through to get on their laps. He's on a slow lap at the moment. Barber going to get onto a fast lap. Burgess, though, is on one. He has a personal best first sector of 31.01 second first sector time at the moment by Miles Burgess. makes his way onto the back straight. He's gone orange in the middle sector. No one is able to match that insane 35.99 second middle sector that Greg Barber set a couple of laps ago. So Burgess, what can he do? Does a 1:38.13. 11 tenths off his previous fastest lap. The gap is even closer now. Simpson has actually now gotten past Burgess in the tower by 1/100th of a second. So I mentioned it was close. They were only 200ths of a second separated before. Miles had done a 38.02. Simpson had done a 38.04. Now, Simpson has done a 38.01. Barber now on track for personal best lap. He's gone green in the first sector. He's got some good pace about him in the BMW GT3 car. Just a glorious machine. So fun to drive, although Adam Hughes has just gone fastest in the first sector, a 30.89. We're going to stay on Greg Barber for the moment as he will cross the line before his teammate in behind him. Oh, Jake Edwards, if we wanted to have a bigger field, you are more than welcome to sign up. Be good to have some more drivers out there. So Barber at the moment on for a personal best. Adam Hughes, though, is on for a session best right now. He is absolutely on it. 2 purple sectors. 30.89 and then a 35.89 were the first 2 sector times. Barber goes top with a 37.57, 0.03 of a second faster than Hughes on that lap. But Hughes is on for an absolute barn burner right now. Through the final 2 corners, crosses the line and does a 1:37.05. So Hughes must have felt that he was a little bit too close to Barber's lap time and just says, you know what, I'm just gonna outdo you by half a second. An unbelievable lap time. Although Burgess, was it Burgess? No, Barber at the moment has just gone fastest in the first sector. So he's got the taps turned all the way up on the BMW at the moment. Does a 30, he matches Hughes' first sector, a 30.89. These guys are the talk of the town at the moment in this session. What can Barber do in sector 2? Cross over to the third sector. Does a 36.27, so he's a bit far. He's a bit off his personal best. His personal best in that middle sector was a 35.99. So he's going to really need to turn it on here in the final sector if he hopes to beat Hughes' lap time of a 1:37.05. Barber, nice and tidy. Through the final couple of corners, will cross the line. We'll do a personal best final sector to do a 1:37.45, 4 tenths off the fastest time in the session. He was 100th off the fastest third sector in this qualifying session. Simpson has just gone personal best in the middle sector. He's actually matched Greg Barber's best middle sector of a 35.99 second. What can Simpson do? He's only got a couple of corners to go. He's got Keegan Caldwell in front of him, but he won't catch him in time to get past and really affect the lap. But Keegan, as nice as he is, hops out of the way. Simpson now crosses the line. Unable to better his time, a 38.21. We have 6 minutes of qualifying left. Greg Barber is back out on circuit, as is Miles Burgess. Unable to better his first sector time, but he has got enough time to do a couple of laps here to really find the pace in that Audi R8. Barber on an outlap right now. So we'll see what these drivers can do. P3 and P4 separated by 1/100th of a second. 38.01, 38.02. That's all Miles has to gain over the course of a lap, is 0.02 of a second to better Simpson's time ahead of him. Barber needs to find 0.4 of a second to better his teammate Adam Hughes' lap time, currently on pole. Burgess starts his lap. Barber, this is still an out lap for him. He's just started the lap. So, the narrative that we will now play, ladies and gentlemen, we will keep an eye on Miles Burgess. Actually, no. We'll keep an eye on Adam Simpson. He's just up the road. So Simpson will cross the line first, but his first sector is no real barn burner. This is an out lap for Simpson, actually, so he's not even on a fast lap. So Burgess currently on a fast lap. 31.11 was the first sector time for this lap. He'll traverse his way around the twists and turns of the middle sector, trying to see if he can match the brute force as he goes wide, so this lap will not count. So Burgess will have to go again. You could possibly say these drivers might be pushing just a little bit too hard to try and find as little amount of time as they need to beat the lap times around them. Although Burgess has actually just done, that lap did actually count, so the wide, actually no, he bettered his time before, I just completely missed it apparently. Burgess's time will count, but it's not fast enough. His new fastest lap, actually, I missed this, and I apologize for missing this, was a 37.84. So he's actually gotten now into the 137s. Adam Simpson really needs to get an answer here, because he's only 0.2 away from Burgess's time now. Burgess, though, does a personal best first sector, a 31.01 second first sector. We have 2 minutes, 20 seconds left on the clock in this qualifying session. Enough time to finish this lap and start another one. Goes for the shallow line through the corner this time. Can he find any more pace? He starts on the third sector, unable to better his second sector time. 36.21 was the time in the middle sector. First two sectors were done in 1 minute and 5 seconds. If he could do a 30-second final sector, he would get a 135. Comes through the final two corners. To do a lap that I do not believe was actually counted that time round. So we now await the end of the session. Let's check out how Caldwell is doing at the moment. He's currently just moving out of people's way, and this might actually become a hindrance to him in terms of qualifying, because he needs to get on for a lap here. There's a minute left in qualifying. He has to be able to cross the line to start another lap. Otherwise, it'll be day done in terms of qualifying for him. Now, I might personally find that comment funny, Jake, but that's not really one I can read out on broadcast, mate. But I know Miles will appreciate that comment, though. So we now whittle our way down towards the end of qualifying. 30 seconds to go before the timer ends. Thanks, mate. It was a good one, though. I'll be good. So they now cross the line. They will be able to do another lap, I do believe, as we only have one race tonight. Burgess, Simpson, Gowans, Gerard, Caldwell are all out on track. But I do not know if they are on for a push at this stage. I do not believe they are. Burgess's first sector was not a barn burner. It was actually a 127. So I think this will actually mean the end of qualifying now. And it should mean all but confirmed that Adam Hughes will take pole for tonight's Magny Cours race. Remembering anyone out there, if you're watching and you want to get involved in the stream, just like Tricks, just like Jake Edwards have, please hop into the chat. I'd love to have a talk to you throughout the show. Get you involved in some way, answer any questions, answer any comments as long as they're PC. And just all in all, have a good time tonight. The drivers will now pull up. Gowans is actually continuing on, so I'm going to assume he's actually allowed to finish his lap. So we'll see if he can better his time here. I don't know if he can. Simpson, I think, is too far back. It's actually cleared up. No, Gowans comes in. As does Gerard, as does Caldwell. So Burgess doing a cheeky little skid. Probably wanted me to catch it. And then we'll wait Simpson to come round to finish the session. And that is it. The end of qualifying. Here are your qualifying results. The official results. For that qualifying session, Adam Hughes goes top of the timing tower there with a 1:37.05. An absolutely incredible lap time from him there. Greg Barber goes P2. Miles Burgess P3. P4 goes to Adam Simpson. Doug Cowans P5. Matthew Gerard P6. And then P7 goes to Keegan Caldwell. Stefan McCartan, of course, is our safety car driver here tonight in the McLaren. So we'll bring up the grid for you. This is how they will start. Of course, Hughes, Barber, front row, CXR lockout. Then it's Burgess and Simpson in the second row, third row. Gowans and Gerard, and then Caldwell will start on the rear of the grid, P7. As we await these drivers to grid up. As we'll just show you quickly the track. Great little layout circuit. Absolutely fantastic. But we will await them on their rolling start. All here live on SRW TV. Bring up the track map as well so you can follow along. Car numbers are set to the track map, so you can look out for your favourite driver's car number. Keep an eye on where they are on circuit in comparison to the action on screen. But we will wait for them to make their way to the line. We're getting the lights up on screen now, so we must not be too far away. Bring up the driver info for you. And they are gridding up, so now they take their formation lap. Hughes will lead his teammates Barber and Burgess. Adam Simpson from Fishing Motorsport. Doug Gowans, Matthew Gerard, Keegan Caldwell. We're getting ready to go racing here at Magny Cours. We've got the green flag, and now we have 90 minutes of racing around Circuit de Magny Cours. See them all trying to come through the first couple of corners nice and tidy. Don't want to have a mistake this early. But the beauty of the small field tonight is it should be somewhat easy for you to make your way back through the field. See the CXR cars all lined up on their way into turn 4. Such a tight hairpin. Will we see a dive happen there throughout this race? Simpson's actually lost a little bit of time here to Burgess just ahead of him. 0.8 of a second is the gap between P3 and P4 right now. Then it's 0.8 of a second back to Doug Gowans in P5. 0.7 of a second back to Gerard, and then a second back to Keegan Caldwell in P7. Simpson, though, has actually gotten a move done here on Burgess. Let me get the replay up for you of that one, as we missed it on the broadcast. You see him the car in a nice and tidy position. Just gets the move done. So we now come on to lap 2, 1 minute 40 seconds into this 1.5 hour mega mini endurance race around this Magny Cours circuit. Hughes leads Barber to Simpson to Burgess to Gowans to Gerard to Caldwell. That is how they lie after one lap around this track. Will we see some inter-team battling here for the lead of this race? Or will they work together for the 90 minutes and then just cross the line together? Might just ask the viewers a bit of a question that you can answer in the chat. Out of all the GT cars that are available to race in this series, so the BMW M3 GT3, the Audi R8 LMS, Lamborghini Huracan, Ferrari 488 Evo, Porsche 911 GT3, the Mercedes AMG GT3, and the McLaren. Which car would you choose if you were to sign up for the series? Please let me know in the chat. I would either choose the Porsche or the BMW. They're both the cars that I'm most comfortable in the GT3 class at the moment in the current build. So I'd be interested to hear from you in the chat of which car you would pick. So Hughes to Barber. The gap has now spread to 2.9 seconds back to Simpson in P3. You can see the gap has already formed. Starting to take shape. This is the battle for P3 at the moment. Simpson to Burgess. These guys had similar pace in qualifying. Could be on for a cracking battle between these two throughout this race. They just got to keep it clean, keep it mean in case the mistakes happen ahead of them. And they can move up and claim yet another position ahead of them. Well, Gowans and Gerard just following each other around now. Just about 5 minutes into this one. Remembering this is not a sprint. It is a long race in terms of having such little battle packs. So these guys will likely follow each other around for a bit and then start to push for positions towards the end of this race. But Burgess has actually gotten past Simpson once again, down at the third to last corner. So it's now a CXR podium lockout once again here at Circuit de Nevers Magny Cours. make the long push down to turn 4. Will Simpson go for a move? Down at the hairpin. Burgess covers the inside. Simpson not quite close enough to go for a dive bomb around either side of the Audi R8 LMS. The gap to the leaders now is already 5.9 seconds up to P1 in Adam Hughes. So those top two are in a league of their own at the moment in terms of pace, in terms of consistent laps. They're not battling each other. They're working together to stay up the front. Their teammate Burgess is stuck in a battle with Simpson in behind. Gowans and Gerard are stuck in a battle. Although Hughes has had a moment. Where is Adam Hughes? He's blipped out for a moment here. We'll have to see if he actually comes back. What has happened to the leader of this race? I think he might have dropped from the server. So hopefully we are not one driver less in this race. Hopefully he can get back in, use that pace, make up the spots that he's lost, if indeed he's fallen out. Keegan Caldwell is at a moment as well. He's gone off circuit. Let's check out the replay. He just loses the rear end. Very typical of that Ferrari. Very easy to do in the mid-engined Evo. That is the 488. So Barber is now on his own at the front of this race, as to which I assume Adam Hughes has dropped out of due to upload packet loss. We will see if he comes back, and if he does, how far behind the leader he is. So Barber leads Burgess, who leads Simpson, who leads Gowans, who leads Gerard, who leads Caldwell. So these guys, I mean, they're not going to be pushing too hard at the start of this one. You know, you're not going to win it within the first 10 minutes of this race. Of course, you want to be up towards the front by the end of the race, and you've got to do that by having consistent times and quick times, but the key is the consistency. You've got to stay consistent. You cannot afford to make mistakes in this race. With it being such a long, well, not such a long, because it's not an endurance race, but with it being 90 minutes, staying consistent throughout the whole proceedings of this race is what is going to find you up the front of the field come the checkered flag. So we'll go back now, back to the battle for P2 between Miles Burgess and Adam Simpson. You see Simpson there getting really close on the apex of turn 4. They'll shoot their way down to 5 and 6, the very fast chicane. And then the long turn 7. A very tough corner to get right, even in the easiest to drive of cars. So these guys will continue on, continue pushing. Barber's lead is now out to 7.28 seconds. Back to his teammate Burgess in P2. So his consistent lap times are doing him dividends at the moment. The last lap he did was a 38.85. For reference, his fastest lap of the race was a 38.08. Burgess's last lap was a 39.51. So Barber is lapping faster, around about 0.7 of a second per lap. Although Adam Hughes is back in the session, I believe. No, he hasn't. Sorry, I've just seen he did the fastest lap of the race, which is 37.89. but that was the lap before he dropped out of the session. I don't believe he's coming back. So 10 minutes in, we're down to 6. An even number. Although, oh wait, no, I think he is back. I spoke too soon. Adam Hughes is back in the session and back on track. So he is now 2 laps down on the leader, but he has got the pace to make his way through the field in this long session. If he can keep the consistency up of those 1:37s, he can slowly claw his way back. If he can get a couple of safety cars, get the waiver rounds, make up a couple of spots due to people having to be towed back to the pits, he could be back in the fight by the end of proceedings. So Barber now leads them on to lap 8. 12 minutes gone in the session. We'll go back to the battle for P2 between Burgess and Simpson. This battle and the battle in behind between Goins and Gerard, or Gowans and Gerard I should say, they're still the fastest, or they're still the closest battles on track at the moment. So Burgess will continue to fight it out, trying to stay consistent. One of the sort of little thought about struggles in such a long race when you're not really surrounded by many people battling over the course of lap after lap is keeping your head in the game. Troy Bolton said it best 15 years ago, you got to keep your head in the game. Got to get your head in the game. Got to keep focused, keep your head on the straight and narrow, and just concentrate on every lap that comes. Not worry about the previous laps, not worry about the laps that come ahead. Just the one that you're on. Making sure that you are picture perfect at every single chance you get. Around every corner, every apex, every braking zone, and every exit. Very easy to get bored or complacent about having no battles. Losing your mind, losing concentration, and then making a silly mistake. That is what Greg Barber, who leads this race at the moment, 7.6 seconds is the gap, has to do at this stage. Mitigate the concentration. Keep it in check. Make sure you attack every corner as best you can. And stay focused. He can afford to cruise a little bit, but not take a Sunday drive. The gap is now out to 8 seconds, back to Burgess in P2. Hughes has actually gained a little bit of time here on the leader. So he is actually slowly clawing his way back. The last lap was actually the fastest lap of the race, a 37.88 for Hughes. So he's still got the pace in that car to find his way through the field and force the issue, force the drama. A true last to first challenge. Can luck be on his side after it wasn't on his side in the first 10 minutes? Dropping him out due to the upload packet loss. Forcing him to the back of the field, 2 laps down. Can he make up the ground that he's now lost? Is the question that should be asked here. You know, the bookies might say no. It's a little bit out of the question for him to gain 2 laps back, get on the lead lap, and then get past everyone ahead of him. But it's not out of the realm. The realm of possibility is almost endless in terms of sim racing. Even in real racing, the realm of possibility is not as closed-minded as you think it is. So even though he's 2 laps down, he is outlapping the field at the moment. He still has the mega pace to make up the spots and make up the time that he has lost. He has a little over 70 minutes to go to get past everyone. He's already on track right now to make his way past Keegan Caldwell and get a lap back on him. He's outlapping Keegan that last lap by 4 seconds, so he's gained a heap of time on him. But he's got many a lap to make up. Here's the battle for P4. Gowans and Gerard. These guys are still fighting tooth and nail at the moment. Stay in the draft and stay in the hunt. And the battle ahead for P2. Burgess has built out quite a nice little lead, or a little gap here, I should say, back to Simpson. 0.7 of a second, 0.74 of a second. The gap ahead of Burgess is 9 seconds up to his teammate Greg Barber in P1. But of course, I mean, we saw it happen with Adam Hughes. You know, you have a bit of an internet malfunction, you drop out of the race. You even have a hardware failure, puts you in the wall, or stops you from being able to drive the car. As Gowans has lost the rear end on the exit of turn 4. So he now drops a spot to Matthew Gerard, who puts the Velocity SimLabs car up into P4 now, and in the prime position to Bradbury his way onto a podium. As Simpson spun it, just as I say, as I think Gerard also had a bit of a moment there. Let's just pull up a bit of a replay of that one. So Simpson following in behind Burgess here. Comes into this corner and just loses the rear end on the apex. Let's see what happened to Gerard. Why did he lose the position to Gowans? So he makes his way round. You can see the pirouette in the distance there just for the moment. And he also pirouettes it, so both of them do almost picture perfect similar mistakes there. So it now gives Burgess quite a nice little buffer here back to the now promoted onto the podium Doug Gowans in P3. 8.4 seconds is now the gap to Burgess in P2. Simpson, though, has actually got some pace over Gowans. So Simpson should be able to claw back here, and we could be on for an incredible battle. As I just realised I'm still in replay. So we'll go back to Gowans now. And see how he does over the course of these next couple of laps. So Hughes has finally now gained a lap back on Keegan Caldwell. And he will continue now to charge on back through the field. Try and make his way back up onto the lead lap. He's gonna have to do it the hard way and the long way here. He's gonna have to fight tooth and nail to get his laps back and then make his way back into the fight of this race. We've got 70 minutes to go in this session. We're 20 minutes in. Barber already has a 10-second lead back to his teammate Burgess in P2. We have already seen the mistakes that have been made by a couple of the BMW drivers in Simpson and Gerard at turn 7. Burgess, P2. Nice and consistent at the moment. Nice and clean. Just cutting laps. just trying to make it to the end. Still 70 minutes to go, a long way to go. Gowans finds himself up onto the podium at the moment in P3 in that McLaren. Simpson back where he started this race, back in P4. After having a little bit of a moment at turn 7, he now looks to push on and continue on with the fight up the field towards the end of this race. Gerard, up a position from where he started, up to P5. That was due to Adam Hughes, the former leader of this race, having upload packet loss and falling out of the session. As Keegan Caldwell has had a moment here, let's check out the replay. He's coming round turn 1, runs wide into the sand, it just shoots him into the grass and he ends up in the marbles. Pirouettes around, so an unfortunate incident for him there, but he is currently just circulating, hoping to make up a couple of positions from people having moments. So Barber now leads them on lap 14, 21.5 minutes into this race. We edge closer and closer to 60 minutes to go. What can Barber do in terms of pace, in terms of consistency, in terms of keeping it clean and keeping his head uncluttered to the front of the field? Let's check out how Simpson and Gerard are tracking after their moments. They try and push their way closer and closer up to the back of Doug Gowan's flame-throwing dragon of a McLaren just ahead. You can see him on the edge of screen there before we change the camera angle. See how these guys can track on towards the end of this race. I remember round 1, me and Tom Riley on the broadcast, we were mentioning and talking about different manufacturers of GT cars we would like to see in iRacing. I remember we were speaking about possibly getting the Lexus, even the new McLaren and the new Audi into the sim. Even the Corvette GT3 car and the Acura or Honda NSX as well. So if there's any others that you guys can think of in the chat, please put it in there. I mean, I'd love to have the Bentley in the game, but unfortunately because it's not run anymore, it's not likely to get scanned and put into the sim. But if there's any others that you guys want to see in iRacing, let me know. I'd love to have a chat about it. It's just it's a good topic of conversation to have throughout this race. I think with more and more IMSA support on iRacing, we are more than likely going to get more and more GT cars that are based in IMSA into the sim. So again, the Lexus, the Acura, and it probably will be an Acura because iRacing is a US based sim, so they will likely put it in as an Acura over a Honda. We're probably going to get the Corvette at some point as well. Now, if they were to do this, then of course they'd need to up the amount of cars that can actually be on track, or the different types of cars that can be on track, as the LMP3 will now be coming into it as well, and they will likely just remove one of the GT cars from the available list in terms of as Gerard there gets the move done down the inside of Simpson. Let's get a bit of a replay of that one. That was a nice move from him. Nice and tidy, nice and clean. Gets the run down towards the hairpin. Just shoots it up the inside. That was a nice and tidy move there from Gerard. As they've now caught the back of Doug Gowans. Gowans has had a moment. We're going to keep an eye on the action here to see if these guys can get a move done. We will go back and see the replay of Gowan's moment to see why these guys are now up on the rear end. We can see the McLaren spitting the flames, looking to burn out the front intake of that M3. But keep an eye on Simpson. Could he go for a dive into turn 4? Could Gerard go for the dive? Oh, under brakes. Looks a little bit wiggly. Gowans, though, does well to keep the car ahead. And these guys are still trekking along here. But they edge closer and closer to turn 7, where those two Beamers had a pirouette early on in the race. We now have a tasty battle on our hands for the final podium position here. Could we see a cheeky send into turn 10, I believe it is, turn 10. The hairpin where Gerard got it done before on Simpson. Gets the run in. They close the gap ahead up to Gowans. Can the move be done? Seems to have kind of quietened down a little bit here in the battle. So we will go to the replay of Gowan's moment. Why is the gap shrunken? Making his way down to turn 11 here at the bottom of the hill. Comes in, clips the curb, and the rear end just comes round. Very easy to do on those mid-engine cars. So now forces a battle on our hands. Gerard has actually now gapped Simpson in behind. Simpson actually went off track. This now makes it a two-way dogfight between Gowans and Gerard at the moment for P3. But don't count out Simpson. He has pace to close the gap and get back into the battle. Let's check out where he went off circuit, why he dropped a bit of gap. He's coming round turn 3. Just runs wide, goes into the sand. Very, very easy to do there. So yeah, so just to go back to the point of conversation before about the amount of cars that will be in an iRacing session. Well, currently you're allowed to have 8 different types of cars. That really allows the GTP, the LMP2, and then 6 GT cars. With the LMP3's inclusion in the sim in the future, as they have now scanned it and confirmed it will be coming, they will likely have to push it up to probably about 10 cars. So you then ask the question, well, what happens when they actually add the other IMSA manufacturers from GTs? So in terms of Acura, Lexus and Corvette. Well, then you have the conversation of what's going to happen when they add more GTPs, when they add the Corvette, the Cadillac GTP and the Porsche GTP. Like, what's going to happen in terms of manufacturer allowances in a session? Will they then just leave it at 10 and not allow as many GT3 cars in a session, or will they up it to 12? So, you know, these are the sort of conversations that we've been having over the past couple of weeks. More importantly, in week 1, when Thomas Riley was joined with me in the booth, of what's going to be the level that they go to in terms of iRacing. Now, the reason it's limited is because not everyone's PC can actually withstand having so many manufacturers loaded into a sim, right? I mean, there are even some people who have to run their track on low quality graphically, you know, not have as many assets loaded in because their PC can't handle loading in as much stuff onto their screen. So, you know, some people say, well, then just make it 15, but not everyone can handle 15. You could probably handle 10, maybe 12 at most. So it's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on over the next couple of months and over the next couple of seasons. We likely won't see a change until probably the end of the year, before the D24 in January, but it's still something to think about now because it affects us now. I mean, it not just affects multi-class GT and sports car racing, it affects a whole other amount of racing as well in terms of running AIs and stuff like that. Bird Wave Racing in the chat, big advocate for an Adam Hughes comeback. I am as well, and he's really going for the hard pushing comeback of dreams here to go from back to front. I mean, to get the upload packet loss problem, to come back in 2 laps down. He has now unlapped himself from Keegan Caldwell in P6. But he's got a long charge to the end here to get back up the front and take the lead of this race. So he has probably got the most intense race at the moment out of anyone on track. In terms of he needs to be able to make up 2 laps, hope for a couple of safety cars to get a lap back or 2, or hope for a couple of moments ahead of him to take advantage. So he is, the gap is 2 minutes and 40 seconds to Keegan Caldwell, but he's only 1 lap behind him, well technically 2 laps, because he has to get the next lap back and then make his way back around to the back of him to get the move done for position. So he has not yet unlapped himself on Simpson, Gerard, Gowans, Burgess or Barber, but he has done it on Caldwell. But he is lapping incredibly quick. He's doing consistent 37s at the moment. He's pumping out quali times in this race, and he's really pushing for a comeback of dreams, a bit of a miracle on tarmac, if you would say. So we will be checking back in with Adam Hughes throughout the race proceedings to see how he goes in his fight for, P7 2 laps down to P1, or even back on the lead lap in a decent position within maybe even the top 5. So we'll keep an eye on how he goes within the proceedings. But we're going to go back now to our battle for P3 between Gowans and Gerard. And Gowans spins on the last corner. So that now promotes Gerard and Simpson up into P3 and P4. It also allows Adam Hughes to get his lap back now on Gowans. So Hughesy, as we were just talking about him, has just gotten the lap back on him. So he now only has to pass Gowans twice over, and he will be in P5 in this race. So the comeback of dreams is still on for Adam Hughes. As Gowans has had another moment, the Cook tyres has affected him here through turn 1. Or is it through turn 2 and 3? It is. So the Cook tyres off the spin. Still not cooled down enough. And just pirouettes it round at turn 3. So yeah. So to sort of summarise the little podcast conversation that we're kind of having throughout these race proceedings right now is they need to up the amount of cars that are allowed in a session to then allow the more GT cars and the more GTP cars and the LMP3 car in as well. So if they've got, I think it's 7 cars coming in, well, that's 7 more cars they need to be able to allow on the current 8. Now, they don't have to allow all 7. Of course, they could still limit it a little bit, and they could just say this race only the BMW hybrid is available out of the GTPs, or this race only the Cadillac is available, or whatever. But again, they can't put it up to 15 just yet until they're able to stabilize it for everyone's computer. But I think 12 is doable. I think 12 is eventually doable. But I think they're more than likely going to go to 10 when they have the LMP3 introduced. So nice little conversations with the commentator, I guess you could say, tonight. So Gerard now moves up into P3 after Gowans has a bit of a moment there. A bit of a brain fart for Grandpa through the final corner. Greg Barber still dominating this race at the moment. 17.5 seconds back to Miles Burgess, who is a further 18 seconds ahead of P3 in Matthew Gerard, who is currently 2 seconds ahead of Adam Simpson. These guys currently in the tightest battle on track at the moment. And then on track behind them is Adam Hughes. Look at him. He's already gained so much time on Simpson and Gerard here to be able to unlap himself. Gowans then P5 in this race, but not P5 on track in terms of track positioning. See him here now, and then Keegan Caldwell P6. So Adam Hughes is laps down P7, but is about P5 on track in terms of positioning. So these guys will continue on. We now have less than an hour to go in this race. 35 minutes into proceedings. We should be etching closer and closer to the pit stop period, as Greg Barber has just come up onto the back of Keegan Caldwell. So Caldwell will go a lap down on the leader I think this will actually play into Adam Hughes' hands quite nicely here, because it'll mean that he actually only has to pass Caldwell once, I believe. Or actually, if he gets up to Barber and gets past Barber, then I think he'll actually be on the same lap as Caldwell. Not 100% sure, though. I think it is, though. I think that's the case. But it is definite that if Hughes does one lap and then passes Caldwell again, they will then be on the same lap, and he'd have to then do the whole nother lap and get past him for position. So Caldwell allows the leader past and goes a lap down. Only took 36 minutes for Greg Barber to make it round to Keegan Caldwell. But he's still got 40 seconds of a gap up to Doug Gowans. 23 laps. Oh, we're on the 23rd lap now. 22 have been completed in the last 36 and a half minutes. We're under an hour to go. Anything can happen, though, in that 50-odd minutes to the end. A couple of crashes could cause a safety car. A couple of dropouts could cause positions gained. A couple of masterclass strategic plays could be in order to see the difference of position, and position changes happen throughout the race. We'll head back to the battle between Gerard and Simpson. The gap's out to about a second now, so Simpson is gaining ground here on Gerard ahead of him. This is the battle for P3 at the moment, ladies and gentlemen, and it's the closest battle that we have on track for position. You see Adam Hughes in the background there, trying to do the comeback of dreams and make his way through the field twice over to then get back onto the lead lap. He's got to get past everyone 3 times to get back into the lead. That is the challenge that faces him over the course of the next 52 minutes. It is not out of the realm of possibility. It's just out of the realm of probability. Anything is possible in sim racing. And anything is possible when you are lapping at a rate of knots, doing low 38s, high 37s, lap after lap, and that is what Hughes is doing at the moment. So these guys will continue their way around as we await the pit stop period here, brought to you by Racecraft, as the series is sponsored by Racecraft. So that will be our Racecraft pit stop period for today. Yet to see the promo department safety car in this race, as we might just bring up a nice little promo here for Racecraft. Hopefully it is muted. It is muted, that's beautiful. So we'll run the Racecraft ad as we are now for 39 minutes into the race. So just about a third of the way through. So the narrative now at the moment: Barber leads Burgess, leads Gerard, leads Simpson, leads Gowans, leads Caldwell, who is being chased down by Hughes in terms of lap times and trying to get that position back. There's only 60 seconds gap between them now. I have to wonder if, because Keegan has actually been lapped by Barber now and is technically on the same lap as Hughes, if that would actually lead to Hughes taking... Oh, no, sorry, I'm looking at this wrong. That's the minute gap is the gap from Gerard back to Caldwell. Hughes still has 2 minutes and 17 seconds to gain on Caldwell, so it's still 2 laps. And saying that, though, Keegan Caldwell has actually had a moment. Let's check it out. Get it up on the replay. It comes through towards turn 10. and just loses the rear end and does a nice little drift onto the apex. As mentioned, very, very easy to do in those mid-engine monsters that are the Ferrari 488 Evo. So it now gives, although he's actually, it's happened again. Let's have a look. Just quickly here. Get the replay. So coming down towards turn 7 this time, the long left-hander. And just pirouettes it round. Almost exactly matches Adam Simpson and Matthew Girard's moments from earlier in the proceedings. So the cooked tyres there really starting to affect Caldwell now. That pirouette that he did at turn 10 has really affected the tyres as Barber now comes in. So the leader jumps on the opportunity and heads into the pits for his first stop. So we'll have to see here if Barber, well, he should retain the lead regardless because of how far back Miles was. But Miles will continue on. He will take the lead, but Barber will still be the provisional race leader, as Miles is now not far behind Caldwell in lapping him. So now the R8 LMS for CXR. Crisscross Racing, Miles Burgess now takes the lead of the race, but he does need to do a pit stop, as Simpson has also now come in out of P4. So possibly going for a bit of an undercut here on Girard ahead of him, as Barber's now back out on track. Burgess is the leader of proceedings right now. Barber still the provisional leader of this race. He's led the majority of laps ever since Adam Hughes' dropout early on, but Hughes is back in the fight. And the narrative at play at the moment is, can Hughes fight back through the field to make up some spots, being a couple laps down? Burgess wants the blue flag on Keegan Caldwell to let him past. Gave him a nice little cheeky flash. They'll make their way through to turn 10. He's letting him know he's going down the inside. Caldwell does not make it hard for him. Nicely done, and we continue on racing. So we'll see here if Burgess comes in this lap. If he actually gains anything off Barber, or if Barber's able to undercut a bit more time out in the gap to Burgess, who was behind him. Nope, Burgess will continue on to the next lap of this race. 43 minutes have been run, as Caldwell has a massive stack in behind, and that is massive. That is huge on the main straight. Very lucky, though, that it is a mid-engine car. The front-end impact will not hurt the engine. But that is an incredible stack for Keegan Caldwell, and this will play into Adam Hughes' hands perfectly now, because it means that Caldwell will need a pit for repairs, and Hughes will just be able to continue lapping, continue picking away at the lap that he has now need to make up on Caldwell. So this should actually mean that Hughes will now move up into P6, whilst Caldwell has to mend his wounds in the pits. So you can see Barber in behind, as Gowans has now come into the pits, as well as Girard. So Girard trying to answer the call here of Simpson, but Simpson is actually going to jump both of them in the pit. So Adam Simpson using the undercut to perfection there to gain the position on Matthew Girard. And this track lends itself beautifully to the undercut. So now Burgess, will he come into the pits? Comes up towards the final couple of corners. No, he continues on. So he must have a bit more fuel in the car than expected. And we'll be able to continue on for a little bit longer, as we will etch closer to 45 minutes contested in this race. We are now there at 45. Halfway home, 45 to go. 28 laps raced so far, so without a safety car we would get, sorry, we're currently on lap 28, but 28 laps halfway home, you would assume without safety cars, we would then get 56 laps out of this race. So Burgess continues around. We're at a little bit of a stalemate, folks, in terms of strategy, in terms of on-track action, as we now await everyone to finish their pit stops, as Caldwell is in but is back on track. So using that fast repair that I believe he has to continue on, but the time that he would have lost, he's now only a minute ahead of Hughes. It's very interesting. So Burgess continues on for yet another lap. Maybe he's going to lap 30 and then coming in. It's a very long stint compared to the others. There's a 38.65, his personal best for the race on that last lap. Let's check out through the field at the moment. Simpson and Gerard. Simpson's actually managed to edge out a nice little 4.15 second gap. Back to Gerard now. So Simpson continue on. We'll see if Burgess comes around turn 11. I believe it's turn 11. It's either turn 11 or turn 10. I don't know if they count the little sort of the little turn after turn 7. I don't know if they count that technically as a corner on the track. But Burgess continues on. We'll go on to lap 30. We will see here when he actually comes in, because this is very interesting strategy play. He's gone quite a few laps longer than his teammate Greg Barber in behind. Barber came in on lap 25, as did Adam Simpson. Matthew Gerard and Gowans came in on lap 26, as did Caldwell. Obviously, Hughes will need a pit again because he came in on lap 4 due to his upload packet loss. But how will these guys contest? You know, will this long strategy play into Burgess's hand a little bit to actually give him an advantage at the end by being able to have a shorter stop towards the end here? Or maybe, I mean, he could actually one-stop this now. He could. He could actually one-stop from this point. He's past the halfway mark, and maybe that's what he's going for. Now, whether the other drivers can do a one-stop as they get more fuel put into the car after the pit stop, well, that is the question that needs to be answered. I am unsure of, because I'm not quite sure. Harry Dodds, geez, numbers are low. I know it is, and it's a real shame that they are so low. Harry, of course, if you want to get involved, or if you know anyone else that you think might want to get involved, then please let us know on to message one of the admins on the Facebook group, on the Facebook page, SRW League or SRW TV. The link is in the description of the YouTube live stream. Have a bit of a question to them. There are some conversations going around in the back end. I can't really reveal too much as I don't have the permission to, unless they magically message me and say I can reveal what they've been talking about. But yeah, maybe just shoot them a message, because they really do want to be able to get some more drivers involved in the series, and of course, to make it really nice for the broadcast and for the race series as well. More cars on track mean closer racing, more battles happening. Just a bit more of a fun time. So yeah, I implore you to get involved if you haven't already. as Burgess has a massive spin at turn 7. So maybe he's gone slightly too long on those tyres now, and it's led to a mistake. I'm sorry that I missed that when it happened, ladies and gentlemen. I looked away just for a second to look at the timing board on my screen. But that could have big implications in terms of P3 coming into effect into a battle with him for P2. So Burgess, though, will actually continue on here. So we might just go back to Barber now, current leader or provisional leader of this race. He's not too far behind his teammate. He might actually get it done on track here. So he will now push forward, push hard to make up some more ground on the cars behind. He has a 44-second gap back to P3 and Adam Simpson. Both of them have pitted here. So it'll be interesting to see where the lay of the land is after Burgess takes his stop, as well as Hughes. Although Hughes has gone back into the pits, lap 25. He's now 7 minutes behind the leader. How the hell is he 7 minutes behind the leader? He's 4 laps? Wow. So Burgess will actually just continue on here. He's still going now. Maybe he's trying to get to the hour mark and just come in at the end of what would normally be a stint. So he will now push on. As Gowans has had a moment here. Let's check out the replay, ladies and gentlemen. And just spins it there off the apex. So we'll see how things how we kind of progress through the lay of the land now. We've got about 35 or 36 minutes left in this race. We are etching closer and closer towards the end of proceedings. See if Burgess finally comes into the pits. 33 laps have been done. We edge closer to 55 minutes, 35 to go. Burgess stays out. So he must be trying to go towards the very end of this tank's life of 60 minutes. He will likely need to come in the next 2 laps. Otherwise he will risk running out of fuel. So let's check out how Simpson and Gerard are doing. It's a 5-second gap now from Simpson back to Gerard. So Simpson is just pacing along quite nicely now. He's keeping up a reasonable pace in terms of staying consistent and trying to mitigate those mistakes. I mean, we saw him earlier have a bit of a mistake and how it affected him. So it will be interesting to see here how he goes. Now, funnily enough, Husey going into the pits has actually really affected him here. It's put him back 4.5 minutes on Caldwell now. So I don't know if he had a moment. Oh, he had to jump to pits again, so he did have a moment. I'm not sure why. Maybe he ran out of... Oh, he shouldn't have run out of fuel. I'm not sure why he had to jump to pits, unless maybe he actually dropped out again and I just missed it. But you'd hate for that to happen. That almost puts the comeback out of doubt now, if that did happen again. So, Simpson, 4.4 or 4.5 seconds really actually back to Gerard. This is the battle for P3. Burgess still yet to come into the pits. Only has a 10-second gap over his teammate as he starts yet another lap here, lap 35. So he is going towards he's going to the end of that tank for sure, and really pushing to have a short stop with, you know, fresher tyres at the end of this race. He's kind of lost anything he would have actually gained from this though over Barber, since he had that spin. And he surely lost a bit of time to Simpson, but he should actually come out of the pits in a reasonable spot still. He should still come out in P2, being that a pit lane travel time is around about 44 to 53 seconds, and Simpson is 59 seconds back on him at the moment. So Burgess should still retain the lead of this race after he finally comes into the pits, but it's just the question of when will he come in and how far back on Barber will he be. Now, will we get a safety car in this last half an hour of proceedings? We could, and then it puts Burgess back in the hunt for the race win, as well as Simpson and Gerard, and Gowans as well. But are we likely to get one? Well, with such a small field, the car's so spread out, unless someone crashes into the wall on their own and blows their engine and has to request a tow, we're not likely to see a safety car in the final half an hour of this race, or at least the final 25 minutes, and then the final 5 minutes we can't have a safety car because you don't have one in the last 5 minutes. As Burgess now comes in on lap 35, going on to lap 36, 2 minutes from 60 minutes into this race. So the next 25 minutes we could have a safety car, but not the last 5 minutes of the race. So Barber will now retain the lead of this race. The provisional leader takes back the lead from his teammate Miles Burgess. Where will Simpson end up in terms of Burgess? Burgess is still in the lane, but he will be able to have a shorter stop here. And Simpson will make his way just up towards turn 10 or 11, if they count the little corner after turn 7. So that's the gap. You can see Burgess moving in the pits once again. So Burgess is actually coming out, and the gap is huge at the moment still. So a nice short stop for Burgess. 22 seconds, 27 seconds is the gap up to his teammate Barber. That was a 45.85 pit lane travel time for Burgess there. So going a bit longer, having the shorter fuel stop and taking tyres has actually worked into his favour a little bit here in terms of keeping the gap back to Simpson. It's 21.75 seconds back to P3. Now he has to gain 27.5 seconds to get up to Barber, and we're 36 laps in with half an hour to go. He'd have to outlap Barber by like 2 seconds a lap just to make up that gap, or Barber have a moment which would allow him to gain the space. So it's kind of now Barber just needs to stay clean, Burgess just needs to stay clean, because he cannot afford to allow Simpson back into the hunt. And, Simpson has a nice little sort of 6-second gap back to Gerard in P4. Gowans is still just circulating. Same with Caldwell. Hughes is back out on track after, I believe, dropping with packet loss once again, which has then put his sort of miracle on tarmac out of whack and out of possibility, really. Like, it's still possible, but it is now even less probable in terms of actually being able to make his way through the field and get up to the front. So it's looking more and more likely that Hughes will finish in 7th, that Keegan Caldwell will finish in 6th, as they are both a lap down, at least on the leader. But anything can happen in racing. Anything can happen. I mean, that BMW can just lose the rear end, go head first into a wall, blow an engine, you've then got a tow. back to pits, right? And now, yes, they get a fast repair, but it's still, the tow time is still going to cut into your lead by quite a bit. So there's that factor as well. If you do that twice, then, well, you're even more in the mud, because you've then not only got to tow twice, but then you've also at least got to do the repairs once, and that can just put you out of the race completely. So anything in the realm of possibility can happen, but nothing is confirmed until the checkered flag flies, as they say. So you can see Hughesy actually just in the background of Burgess here. He's still pushing hard here to make up the spots that he has lost. And he might even just, maybe Burgess might be smart just to let him past him here and just actually tow onto the back of Hughes to gain some time on his teammate ahead. But we will need to see how he goes. So we'll go back up to the leader, Greg Barber, and he has been a class above the rest all day as we've ticked over to roughly 28 minutes to go in this race. Barber has been consistent as hell and has just stayed in the front since Hughes' mishaps early on. It has been a mistake-free run at the moment for Greg Barber in the number 22 CXR Crisscross Racing BMW M3 GT3 car. And he's on his way to quite an impressive victory in terms of cleanliness and consistency. The strategy today for him has just been keep it on the tarmac, keep it straight and narrow, and keep the speed as much as you can comfortably do without risking crashing the car. He'll make his way up towards turn 10/11 if they count the little corner after turn 7. But he will push on towards the end of this race. We've got 27 minutes to go. Roughly 20 odd laps. I did mention we should get to 56 laps in this race, since they did 28 in the first 45 minutes. We're coming on to lap 39. That would mean we have around about 17 laps to go in terms of lap counter. Of course, this race is not lap certain, it is time certain. I guess the one thing that can be said about this race is that it has been nice and easy for the race control, as there hasn't been any bingles that people have had to complain about to put into the race control. That would confirm it. So I had a message from Race Control Stefan McCartan at 8:15 saying that Hughes had lagged out. That would confirm it then from early on in the race that he did lag out, but I think that would have been when he did it again, possibly. Maybe? No. When was that? No, that was 10 minutes ago when he jumped back in, so it would have been from the start of the race when he lagged out. So that confirms it, as Doug Gowans has actually had a moment. Let's check it out on the broadcast. So comes in through the chicane, and he's just done what he did earlier. Lost the rear end, poked it in towards the wall. Similar move to what happened to Keegan Caldwell in the Fez. But all we can do is wait. All we can do is wait for the next 25 minutes to pretty much confirm that Greg Barber is the race winner. But all he has to do is keep it clean, keep it mean, and push on to the end. As mentioned, it's been a dominant performance by him throughout today's race. You cannot really fault it, as he's been mistake-free and been a class above the rest. The only real contestant he had was Adam Hughes, whose internet really just let him down in the end by making him lag out and go laps down on the lead. If it hadn't, we could have had a very interesting and almost completely different race on our hands in terms of would they battle at the front or would they just work together. You know, those are the sorts of questions that we asked earlier on in the proceedings. You know, would that happen? It's kind of been answered for ourselves now. Well, it couldn't happen because they were separated. So, you know, these are things that we think about and we push on towards. But, you know, these drivers are fighting tooth and nail anyway to gain whatever they can to get closer and closer to the front of the field. They're trying to make it to the end at this point in the race, let's be honest. The battles are somewhat spread out. I mean, Simpson has a 6-second gap. This is the closest battle on track, 6.2 seconds back to Gerard in P4. So, I mean, if Gerard really wants to put the fight on now, he needs to push to really just better the lap times and make his way up further and further through the field. That was quite a nice entry there into the sort of third to last corner from Simpson as he'll make his way through onto the next lap as Adam Hughes has actually had a moment. Let's check out what he's done. Comes down towards turn 4. What's he done? Oh, he's just gone wide. Had a bit of a moment. Keegan Caldwell as well had a moment. See what happened to him. And this is when he was letting, I believe, Hughes past him here. And he's just hooked the sand and it's pushed him out into the gravel. Not a fun day at the office for him. So as we now lead on to lap 42, roughly 20 minutes to go. The current standings in this race. Barber leads Miles Burgess, leads Adam Simpson, leads Matthew Gerard, leads Doug Gowans, leads Keegan Caldwell, leads Adam Hughes in this epic 90-minute 7-car GT3 sprint to the end. 20.5 minutes to go is roughly the time left that these drivers have to do anything. And I mean anything in terms of closing their gaps, getting opportunities to have battles happen. Although Matthew Gerard has actually closed the gap slightly now to Simpson. It's now 5.6 seconds between him, or between P3 and P4. Closest battle on track. But, you know, I'm quite impressed with Gerard today, actually. I mean, apart from that little moment at turn 7, he's actually done quite well to stay clean and consistent. And just, you know, keep it on track. Keep it nice and clear. You know, keep on the straight and narrow. And you know, just moving that car forward and keeping it, you know, out there. Because sometimes these drivers, I mean, they make mistakes and you let things get to your head and then it just kind of snowballs into a worsened effect, a little bit like what's happened to Keegan throughout this race, where he's had a moment and then it's led to another moment and then it leads to even more moments. So, you know, Gerard's actually done very well to mitigate that after the first moment he had. Same with Simpson, to just keep the head down and keep it clear and stay focused on what the goal is to make it to the end of this race. As Caldwell has now gone off track once again. Let's have a look what's happened. He's just gone off at turn 1, and that's a wild ride for him. Oh, and hard into the barrier as well. Not a fun time for Keegan Caldwell in this race. Doug Gowans has now gone a lap down on the leader, Greg Barber, here. So maybe the narrative now is, can Greg Barber lap the rest of the field in the next 20 minutes? I mean, it's highly improbable that he's going to make enough time to lap his own teammate who's 30 seconds behind him. I mean, he's only, you know, he's got Simpson and Gerard about a minute behind him on track. It's about a minute 40 to get the lap done on them. So he's got about 40 seconds to gain on them over the course of the next 20 minutes. It would mean that he'd have to, you know, do about 3-second faster laps than them. But, I mean, that's kind of the challenge that he now faces. I mean, the challenge that we spoke about of Hughes dropping out of the race, coming back and then trying to claw his way back through the field, that dream is now gone. That dream is now dead in terms of having Hughes do a fight back and have a bit of a miracle on tarmac to get a reasonable position within the top 5. He's kind of just, you know, accepted that he's going to be in P7 right now after having yet another moment and leading him back into the pits and having to then come out a couple of more laps down. So that narrative's now gone. The narrative of Burgess battling with Simpson is really gone now that Burgess has kind of broken away and gone 30 seconds up the road from Simpson in behind. You know, Barber and Burgess, they're kind of on their own on track. Simpson and Gerard, they got about 5 seconds in between them. That's the closest battle at the moment. So there's still a possibility of a battle between these guys for P3 if something happens to Simpson, which allows Gerard to make up the time, or if Gerard can find the time on track. And then Gowans is just kind of on his own, and Caldwell's just kind of circulating right now, trying to finish off this race. I mean, we edge closer and closer to 15 minutes to go. We edge closer and closer to confirmation of what has kind of been the writing on the wall, that Greg Barber would take victory with Burgess in second and Simpson in third. And it's all kind of a formality at this point. But again, something could happen that will, you know, lead to a bit of carnage, you know, a bit of sauciness. But, I mean, these drivers, they would be smart enough just to kind of take it a bit easy. You know, it's not pushed too hard in the last 15 minutes. I mean, unless you're trying to make up a position like Gerard would be, you know, just to make it to the end and just really accept the position that they're in and take the points that they're going to be given. I mean, these guys are all guaranteed a top 7 finish at the end of the day. So I think that's still a pretty good outing in my book. You know, whether there was talks of changing the formats and changing the race formats and stuff like that. Whatever happens, you know, if it means that we can continue going GT3 sports car racing every Friday night and grow the field from what it currently is to an even bigger and better version of what they want, then I am all for it. So, you know, even, you know, maybe even just sound off in the chat a little bit. You know, what would you like to maybe be implemented that we could take forward to the organisers to say, hey, this is what the community would want to see, or this is what the community would want to race in. Is there a way that we can implement it? So, you know, not that you guys are going to be writing the script in terms of how the races are run, but just to have an idea of how could we market this better to make it more accessible to people, I guess you could say. So we are etching closer and closer towards the end, right? We've got roughly 15 minutes to go in this race. We are currently focused on Adam Simpson right now, as the closest battle on track is him and Matthew Gerard, 6 seconds down the road from him, a bit further back on field. Everyone else is kind of in their own little zone. I mean, everyone's kind of in their own little zone at the moment. They're all on their own little sections of circuit, but you know, they're just pushing on towards the end. And I guess now, I mean, it might be a good time maybe to bring back the conversation of a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I know I talked about the different car manufacturers that could come in Maybe a couple of the different tracks that iRacing could bring in for GT3s, you know, whether it's Portimao or, you know, there was talks about Mugello coming in and I mean, of course, we're getting Pukekohe. I wonder how that would go with GT3s. I mean, it'd be good to see some other circuits out there that aren't in the sim, you know, even maybe a bit of Kailami. Trying to think maybe even like total brain clump. It's just gone out of my mind of the tracks that I had in mind to say then. But I mean, we're hoping obviously to get the resurfacing of Zandvoort by the end of the year. You know, have the new F1 style layout on the sim, which would be quite nice. I think it'd be really good to go racing at that really high banked version of Zandvoort. You know, the updated version would be really cool. You know, and there's other tracks out there that'd be cool to see as well. I mean, you know, even like Brno would be pretty cool in Czechoslovakia. That'd be pretty sweet to have. Even the Argentinian race circuit that they race at for MotoGP, that'd be a cool one to get. I mean, we've gotten Jerez, so you know, another MotoGP circuit might actually be kind of cool to get into the sim. You know, so these are just the sorts of things that I like to think about in terms of GT3 racing and how you can go racing and how you can make it more competitive. Now, we're not likely to get tracks that aren't being used anymore or tracks that can't really be scanned because they're old street circuits, kind of similar to the Valencia street circuit in Spain, or the South Korean race circuit, or the Indian race circuit that they run in Formula 1, which they'd actually be kind of cool to have just because they're a bit different. But the likelihood of those tracks are not very likely because they don't get run anymore on a grade A scale of racing. So, as Caldwell is actually back in the pits. So Caldwell has now entered pit lane as he drives on through. So I actually reckon he might have just had a drive through then. Maybe, oh no, he hasn't gone over the incident limit, so I'm not sure why he's just driven through there. Maybe that was given to him by race control. Check the race control chat, there's nothing in there, so I'm not sure why that would be the case. But yeah, so I mean, I think Portimao, Kailami, Mugello, they're kind of the three sort of big GT challenge or endurance tracks that I would like to see in my racing at the moment. And I think one of the wildcard tracks would definitely be Brno, or the Argentinian MotoGP circuit. I can't remember what the name of the circuit is off the top of my head. One of those two would be pretty cool to get in, but yeah, so just a little bit of food for thought as we edge closer and closer to the end of proceedings. So we are roughly 11 minutes to go in this race. Barber, dominant as ever. 34 seconds is the gap back to Burgess in P2. A minute and 11 seconds is the gap back to Gerard. So he has actually gained a bit of time on Gerard here, but I don't think he's going to be able to gain enough to get past him in terms of lapping him. If we look on the track map, Gerard is just coming down the main straight towards T1, and Barber has just come onto the back straight down towards turn 11, 12 and 13. So we will see. We will see what happens now in the final 10 minutes. 10 and a half minutes to go. Barber will cross the line to start lap 49. It's been a perfect race for him here today. It's been almost a perfect outing. I mean, he took the lead when Hughes lagged out due to upload packet loss. An unfortunate day for Adam Hughes, who had pace over everyone. And we could have been on for a real tasty battle. But these things, they happen sometimes. I mean, that's just racing, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? So we will await the formalities of the final 10 minutes of running to pretty much confirm Greg Barber as your victor, as it is all but confirmed at this stage. He just needs to keep on doing laps, keep it consistent and not put it in the wall to make it to the end. We might just follow Barber here for a lap as he makes his way down towards the back straight. So we'll follow Greg Barber now for a lap of this Magny Cours circuit. See how the leader is doing it and see how well he is pushing on to the end. He'll make his way now through the final chicane to start lap number 50. 9 minutes to go in this race. We might just go into the Camus cockpit cam. Down to third gear. Through turn 3. Nice little double apex there. A little bit like turn 2 at Phillip Island. Up to 4th now. We'll now go up to 5th. And climb those gears to the very end of this straight. Will not make it to 6th gear by the braking zone. We'll go down to 2nd. We'll even click into 1st for the tight right-hand hairpin. Up to 3rd now, up towards turn 5 and 6. 4th gear now. This is a very fast little section of chicane. Bit of a lift. Keeps it in 4th. You can see the car dancing and weaving around. Nice wheel work from him. Down to 2nd gear for the long left of turn 7. Even down to 1st actually, as Caldwell lets him pass. He's now up to 3rd gear. Goes up to 4th now. Holds the gear. Oh, you see the jump of the car. That was a wild ride. Down to 3rd gear, down to 2nd, all the way down to 1st for the tight right-hander. And he should climb these gears majority of the way down this back straight. Holds 4th. Hard on the brakes. Down to 2nd. You see he turns the wipers on by mistake. Down to 1st. And he'll come into the pits. So Barber actually needs to pit here. And I have to wonder if he actually needs fuel. So it now puts an interesting development on this. It'll only be a splash and dash. But Burgess is now coming down the back straight. So Barber, he pit slightly earlier, although he is now making his way out towards the exit of the pits. So Burgess not quite close enough, and you have to wonder if that mistake where he spun the car, as Hughes is now back in the pits, I think, oh no, he's back out. You'd have to wonder if the spin that he had has actually cost him from taking the lead of this race, because the gap's now 13 seconds. If Burgess actually didn't have that spin earlier on, then he probably would have actually been fighting for the win right now if he'd kept the lead clean over the course of that first stint. But there's not much that he can do about it now, as we are 6 minutes to go. 1 minute until there will be no safety cars guaranteed in this race. As Adam Simpson is now also back in the pit, so this now actually promotes Matthew Gerard up a position. So it's very interesting. Simpson came in one lap before Gerard did, and he's had to pit for fuel. I have to wonder if Gerard is going to have to do the same here, and what could possibly happen. Burgess won't need a pit. He came in lap 35. He's golden. He's golden, Pony Boy. Although Doug Gowans has just had an incident. We'll get the replay on it on your screens right now. Let's see how we did it. So it was turn 10. And just a little bit of a pirouette on exit there. So not too good for him, but might just stick with Gerard here for the moment. See if he actually jumps into the pits this lap for any reason whatsoever. As he makes his way around turn 10 down the back straight. So we'll keep an eye on Gerard. Will he make a move into the pits? Or will he continue on? Gerard continues on. We've got just under 4 minutes to go. So it was interesting to see that Simpson came in. Gerard did not. Maybe he did a little bit of fuel saving over the course of the race, and that's helped him out a little bit here. Or maybe he's just hoping for the best, that he's actually going to be able to make it to the end on enough fuel. I would say get your tips in the comments who wins this race, but I think it's almost guaranteed to be Greg Barber at the moment. I mean, it's a 14-second lead. It's nowhere near as astronomical as what it once was, seeing he had to do a two-stop. But still impressive nonetheless. 3.5 minutes to go. Lap 53. Will we get to 56, or will it only be 55? It should only be 55, actually, now that I think about it. So Barber, who has led the race all day since Adam Hughes dropped out due to packet loss, has had an incredible race. He had an incredible qualifying, an incredible practice session, and he's followed it up in today's race, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, it's been pretty much a perfect performance for him. No moments of mishap. No incidents to report. As Gerard is now in. So Gerard did have to pit again. Barber and Burgess are both currently on a 0 times race. Same with Gerard. So these guys have actually run. I mean, even though Burgess actually had the spin, he still hasn't actually gotten an off track or an incident point. So both of them have relatively actually had the perfect race, although Barber definitely has, as Simpson will now take P3 from Gerard, due to Gerard having to go back into the pits. So we edge closer. 2 minutes of racing to go. 2 minutes until it is all but confirmed that Greg Barber takes victory, with Burgess in second and Simpson in fourth. Although the gap has now shrunk. Simpson and Gerard, the gap is now 3.66 seconds here. See the gap there on screen. I don't know if Gerard can actually make a push to put the pressure on Simpson. Simpson would have to have a bit of a moment, go off track, have a bit of a spin to put Gerard back in the hunt for P3. As Keegan Caldwell has had yet another incident here. Down through the final couple of corners, just runs it wide. Comes through the chicane and just loses the rear end. Picture perfect in terms of copying what he did earlier in the race, although he actually kept his bonnet and his front end just magically reappeared on the car then. Just sim racing things. So we will actually head up now to the leader of the race, Greg Barber. He's got 60 seconds until the timer hits 1 minute and 30. He will not cross the line before it hits 1 minute and 30, so we will not have another lap. This should be the white flag lap, ladies and gentlemen, lap 54. So Barber is now only a handful of corners away from claiming victory in the Racecraft GT3 Series round 3 at Magny Cours. He's approaching up onto the back end of Caldwell. It'd actually probably be smart for Caldwell just to let him pass so he doesn't have to do another lap. I don't think he's going to do that though. So Barber, who's at a picture perfect race, although he's actually going to cross the line before it hits an hour and 30. So he will actually get another lap in. The checkered flag has not been waved. So this should be the final lap. This should be our white flag lap. Lap 55. And it's been a perfect proceeding for Greg Barber all day. No complaints from him. No mistakes. Kept his head in the game. And is roughly 4 kilometers away from taking victory here in Racecraft GT3 Series, brought to you by SRW TV. Just a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and click on the bell icon to be notified anytime we go live with any of our 6 racing series over the course of the 5 nights of the week that we go broadcasting. Tuesday nights, the SimRigs V8 Supercars Amateur Series. Wednesday, brought to you by Toyo Sim with the TCRs and Formula 3s in a double header. And then Thursday nights is the Camus GR86s. Racecraft, of course, bringing you the GT3s on Friday night. And then SimRigs brings us the V8 Supercars Pro-Am on Sunday nights, the premier event. Turn 10. And Barber keeps it clean down the back straight. Down towards the final 3 corners of this Magny Cours circuit. And from about halfway through this race, it was just a matter of time. It was just a matter of confirmation. He flashes the lights, crosses the final corner, crosses the line, and Greg Barber for Crisscross Racing takes victory at Magny Cours. As his teammate Miles Burgess will now circulate through the final corner. He will take P2 2 weeks in a row for CXR here in the number 93 Audi R8 LMS. We check in with Adam Simpson. He's at turn 7 at the moment. You see Gerard in behind. Simpson needs to keep this next half a lap clean to claim P3, the final podium position here for Fishy Motorsports. Makes his way through turn 10. And down the back straight. 3 corners to go for Simpson to guarantee a podium here at Magny Cours. Keeps it clean. He will cross the line, taking out P3. Gerard will take out P4 in behind. And Gowans, I believe, should have already been given P5 here in this race. So what a race it was, ladies and gentlemen. Let's bring up your race results. The provisional results here for round 3 at Magny Cours of the Racecraft GT3 Series Season 2. Greg Barber takes out victory here, ahead of Miles Burgess, Adam Simpson, Matthew Gerard, Doug Gowans, Keegan Corbell, and Adam Hughes. Stefan McCartan, unfortunately, not getting to do a lap around this Magny Cours circuit in the Promo Department safety car here tonight. Let's check out if we are going to be getting anyone into the green room. If we are not going to get anyone into the green room, then we will call it. I will give them until 42 past. So they get 3 minutes to join the green room. Otherwise, we will call it there. It was an interesting race. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we want to be able to get more people involved, get more drivers into the series. More drivers on track means better action on the broadcast. It means better racing for the races as well. If you want to get involved, you see the link on the screen right now, www.simracingworld.com.au. That is www.simracingworld.com.au. Sign up as a driver and register for any of the series that SRW offers. It'd be fantastic to have you involved in the proceedings throughout the rest of this season. A couple of weeks left in the season, and then we move on to Season 3. We have Adam Simpson in the green room. We will quickly just bring him in here into P3. Adam Simpson, that was an incredibly interesting 7-car sprint over 90 minutes around Magny Cours. You had quite a nice and tidy race there to come home in P3, although both you and Matt Gerard had almost identical pirouettes on turn 7 at the same time, mate.
Hey, look, I was happy to come home with the podium, but in my eyes, that was a woeful race by me.
I think you did quite well to just kind of mitigate the mistakes and stay nice and tidy throughout. I mean, I know through my own endurance racing efforts, you know, just keeping your head nice and tidy through those sort of boring drives where you're on your own throughout the whole race, not battling anyone, it can be tough. So I think a little bit of kudos needs to go to everyone just for kind of keeping their heads clear and still finishing the race, even though they weren't really having anyone to battle. I mean, when you came into the pits and you lost the position to Gerard there towards the end, were you hoping that he also had to pit again for more fuel?
100%. I was saving that whole second stint. Like, I should have been saving in the first stint, but I just thought, I'll see how it goes, see how far I get, and then, yeah, I realised I was going to be a lap short, and that's like, yeah, I will.
Oh,
Yeah, so dove into the pits, and yeah, was 100% hoping. I hope Matty hasn't got enough fuel as well.
Very good, mate. All right, well, we might just quickly go on over to our race winner for round 3, Greg Barber. I mean, your teammate Hughesy missing out there thanks to his internet connection. I was questioning at the start whether you guys were going to be battling throughout, but the question was answered, by whoever his internet provider is, that you were just going to be leading the whole thing towards the end.
Yeah, well, it was unfortunate for Adam. He kind of just disappeared in front of me, and I couldn't get anything out of him on Team Discord either, so I knew he was pretty much gone. And yeah, when he came back, he was just saying how it's been dropping out every 30 minutes or something lately. So, and it's exactly what happened. He dropped every 30 minutes in that race. So, unfortunate for him. I'm not sure I would have had the pace to stay with him, but yeah, I mean, in the end, it turned out I didn't need to find out. So I really don't know how quick I could have been if I was following him. Go.
No, I was going to say. I mean, you led the majority of the race. You were on your own pretty much for the whole thing. I guess what was the real challenge for you in this race, even though it didn't really seem very challenging from a broadcast perspective?
Mate, I had plenty to do. Miles had told me he was going to go for a one stop from the beginning. So sort of as Adam said in the first stint, I was like, can I save enough to go one stop? I save enough to try and go one stop, and I had a couple of laps there where I dialed the engine map back and just to see how much fuel I could save on a lap, and I thought, yeah, no, I think if I go full tilt, I'll be able to pull a big enough gap. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So just sort of knuckled down and tried to do that. And after the pit stop, or after he stopped, and he was only sort of 25 seconds behind me, I knew I had to come in and take on about 3-4 laps of fuel. So it was basically that stint from then on was basically quali laps. I think I did about 8 or 9 38 zeros or something in a row, just trying to pull enough of a gap, and managed to sort of pit probably 35 seconds in front of him in the end. And actually in the end it was I came out pretty comfortably. I thought it was going to be closer than that.
Well, I think one of Miles's downfalls in that race was he unfortunately made a mistake in his first stint where he actually spun the car, and that is probably actually the difference in you coming out next to him, or even slightly behind him, or you coming out 15 or so seconds ahead of him. So, I mean, a little bit unlucky, but I wouldn't really suspect that you guys were going to be battling to the end if you came out next to each other anyway. So, but it was a class finish. I mean, you drove clean all day. I don't think you had any incident points throughout the whole race. So, even to do that is quite commendable. And once again, a massive congratulations to you to take the victory here today.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I think I had one run wide at the sweeper or something. That was it. Yeah, it was a really clean race, and I was really happy with it.
Very good, mate. All right, well, I'll just quickly go to Adam first. Adam, if there's anyone that you want to thank or give a shout out to, now is your time to do so, sir, and then I'll be moving on to Greg to do the same thing.
Yeah, thanks. First and foremost, thank Fishy Motorsports, great bunch of fellas, West End Motor Group, DC Shades, Reflex Gaming Fishing, Infinity Designs, and that should wrap it up.
Very good, mate. Well, once again, congratulations on P3 for you today. Hopefully we can get a bit of a bigger field over the next couple of races so we can get some better racing in there as well. So, Greg, same thing to you, mate. If there's anyone that you want to give thanks to or give a shout out to, now's your time to do so, sir.
Yeah, starting with SRW and yourself, Hamish, for sticking around and keeping the broadcast going for such a small field. It was a bit disappointing, so hopefully we can get a few more next week. I'd like to thank Shunt Scenery, Palmerston Bakery, Jennifer Russell Real Estate, Poolmaster Bayside, Doomed Works and Game Changer. They're all our big supporters of CXR. So thanks to those guys.
Very good. Well, thank you both for joining me in here. I'm going to have to give Miles a bit of a talking to for not coming and having a chat to me after he was my friend was streaming tonight, and I was I'm one of his moderators, and Miles was in the chat, and he was chatting to me there, so I'm a little bit disappointed that he didn't want to come and talk to me in person. So he's going to be getting a good little talking to now. So but thank you both for joining me. Congratulations once again on the podium to Adam and to the victory to Greg, and I suspect we'll probably be talking once again throughout the season.
Yeah, well done, Adam.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Same to you. Great race. Bad luck to Hughesy. And I think Miles should get rear of field next race for not
I'd second that. All right, boys. Thanks for that.
Thanks,
see you next
guys.
week.
Appreciate it.
Catch up.
Great to talk to Greg Barber and Adam Simpson there. Greg Barber P1, of course, in that race. Adam Simpson P3. If you have enjoyed tonight's broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, once again, please hit the thumbs up button and hit subscribe and the bell icon so you are notified anytime SRW goes live over the course of our 5 days of broadcasting. 6 series broadcasted over 5 nights here on SRW TV. Next week in the SRW GT3 season, we go to Road Atlanta, which will be quite an interesting affair for sure. You know, a bit of a Petit Le Mans preview, if you will, in terms of GT cars. And then the week after, unfortunately, I won't be here to do the broadcast, so you'll actually have someone else doing it for you for Jerez. But I have been Hamish Munro, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your commentator for tonight. I've had quite an enjoyable time chatting to you throughout tonight's racing proceedings here on SRW TV. This has been the Racecraft GT3 Series Season 2, Round 3 at Magny Cours. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
To turn one, this is amazing. Up and clash heads again. This is like Chaz Moss